Hey, what up, guys? I want to talk to you guys about your approach because a lot of people have talked about this. I've heard people even mimic what they've heard from other coaches on our forums and stuff. They're saying that when you're getting into your jump, that your body is going to be directly over your hips. So if you're stepping in, your shoulders are directly above your hips, right? And then when you get into it, you maintain that and to get your jump. However, I think if you get into your jump and you're trying to keep yourself, you're not going to be fully utilizing and loading your hips and extending and exploding at the hips. Let me show you why. I'm going to show you some examples. When you can get into, you may start when you push through your penultimate step, your second to last stride. You may be like this, but as you get in, you should dip slightly to preload your hips, and then as you're getting into it, you'll already start extending at the hips like this. So in slow motion, you'll be driving into that last step, and then you'll be leaning forward slightly. Now you've created an angle for your hips to extend. And as you're getting into it, you'll already be extending and exploding through your hips. I call this pre-ground contact acceleration. So as you're getting into the hips, now you're extending through the hips, through the knees, and through the ankles in triple extension. So if you're going out there for your approach, you're trying to keep yourself like this the whole time, you're going to find yourself not able to preload and explode and pre-accelerate through your hips. It's almost like a dipping, where you're dipping and then hitting. So I'm going to show you in some videos here. Real quick, let me get the right one. Okay. So this is Kenny Dobbs, won the Sprite Slam Dunk Contest. Someone who I worked with quite a long time ago before he won the Sprite Slam Dunk Contest. At the point of takeoff, you can see him here. Shoulders and hips slightly dipping. He's created an angle right here. Right? That is his angle. So as he extends through his hips, he's going to be creating propulsion. Extends at his knees, and as he extends at his ankles, he's going to be creating propulsion in all those angles. So we'll see. He goes up, he pushes through his penultimate step, right? So he's a little more up and down here, right? But then that angle increases as he preloads his hips, right? And now he's preloading his hips, and now he's driving all that force into the ground. So that's Kenny Dobbs jumping over 40 inches. Here's myself also jumping in this video clips. Some of these I'm getting around 43, 44 inches. This is how I load up, very similar. So when I get into my jump, my shoulders are slightly in front of my hips as well, right? And I'm creating a slight angle to push through here. Very similar lineup. So now I can create propulsion through my ankles, through my knees, and through my hips, right? That's triple extension. Okay, now let's go to Derrick Rose, one of my favorite jumpers. I could go through many of them, and they're all going to be doing a very similar preloading of the hips. So Derrick Rose strides through, he's fairly upright, but then he dips. You see him start to dip? So he's upright, then he dips slightly. And at the point of his plant, you'll notice again, he's a little bit forward. He's loaded all of his triple extension. So as he extends through his ankles, as he extends through his knees, and as he extends through his hips, the triple extension, he's going to create upward propulsion. So the advantage is preloading that movement. You know, when you do it at your ankles, you do it through dorsiflexion. So you see that his ankles, are already, and he's going to be pushing through that as he lands. But through his hips, he dips slightly, and again, you're not gonna fold yourself over. But he dips slightly and already is driving power through his body, through his hips. And so you can see he goes from, that's how he's extending through his hips. So the point being here is when you approach your vertical from the perspective of your hips, you need to, you may be completely upright as you get into it, but you should and will, in order to maximize your leverage, you should slightly dip you won't do this. You won't do this because now you're losing the momentum. You're breaking too much of that horizontal force. Your hips are going forward, right? Your hips are going forward. So you're giving yourself the advantage to use that forward propulsion and close that gap. And that's where you're going to get a lot of extra power, a ton of extra power. I mean, you're going to get it through all three of these triple extension joints. You're going to get it here, you're going to get it here, extension, and you're going to get it through your hips. And you do that with a little pre-dip, pre-ground contact acceleration, and now you're driving all of that through your lower body. If you come into it and you land and you're just like this, you're going to find yourself at a mechanical disadvantage from driving your hip lever into the ground and creating force and generating force. So guys, that's my take on it. I've seen other people say, always keep your shoulders above your hips. Well, yeah, they should be above your hips, but you should slightly dip, which will create an angle that when you close that angle at high velocity, you're going to be generating upward propulsion. So hope that makes sense to you guys, and just wanted to clarify that for some people who'd asked.